Right now your garden probably looks fine. Things are green, you've got stuff growing, temperatures are warming up, and it feels like you're on track. But April is actually where a lot of gardeners quietly start failing, and most people don't realize it until weeks later. In this video, I'm going to show you the biggest mistakes you can make in April, the ones I see every year, and more importantly, how to fix them before they cost you your season. Because the problem with April is it tricks you into thinking everything is going right before things start going wrong. April's one of the most deceptive times in the garden. It feels like progress. You're planting again, you're outside more, you're seeing life come back. And mentally, it feels like you've crossed the line into the growing season, but from a plant's perspective, you haven't fully crossed that line yet. And that gap between what it feels like and what's actually happening is where a lot of mistakes happen. So let's go through the big ones. The first mistake is watering the surface of the ground and not the roots. This one is probably the most common mistake I see at this time of year. You go out, you water with the hose, the top of the soil looks nice and wet, and everything looks good. And you move on. But if you actually check what's going on below the surface, just a couple of inches down, you'll often find dry soil. And that's where your plant actually needs the water. So what happens is the plant sends its roots toward the moisture it can find, which is right near the surface. And now you've created a shallow rooted plant. And it looks fine early on because in April and maybe even still in May, depending on where you live, the weather is still mild. But as soon as those summer temperatures start to rise or you miss a watering, the plant struggles fast because it doesn't have the deep roots to take advantage of any moisture that might be deeper in the soil. Now, the other version of this mistake is watering too frequently. You're out there every day or every other day, keeping that top layer again constantly wet. And again, the plant has no reason to grow deeper roots, so now you've got a plant that is completely dependent on you. Miss a watering and it shows immediately. So the goal is to train your plant's roots early. You want roots going way down, not staying at the surface. So the fix here is simple, but it takes intention. Water deeper and less often. Instead of a quick surface spray, give it enough water to actually soak way down into the root zone. Then let the top dry out again a bit before watering again. And every once in a while, actually check. Stick your finger in, dig a little, see what's happening 2 to 3 inches below the surface. Because what you see on top is not always what's happening where it matters. Now, I want to remind you again about our free garden guide at GardenGuide.com. It's going to take you through the entire season for whatever you want to grow, and watering is in there. And you can put in how you're watering, a hose, a drip system, a soaker hose, what size bed you have. And it'll tell you how much and how often to water, among so many other things. So I'll leave a link down below. Now, the second mistake is letting warm days fool you. April gives you those really nice days where it feels like summer is right around the corner. It's sunny, it's warm, you're comfortable outside, maybe in shorts. And naturally, you assume your plants are in that same environment. But your soil temperature often lags behind the air temperature. And plants don't just grow based on air temperature, they grow based on soil temperature even more. So you can have these perfect feeling days and your plants are still sitting in cold soil, shivering. And when that happens, growth slows way down. Sometimes, like with peppers, it stops completely. You might notice plants just sitting there, not doing anything. Leaves might be turning yellow, just overall slow progress. And this is where people start trying to fix the wrong problem. They think, maybe I need to fertilize more. Maybe there's something wrong with the soil or the watering. But really, it's just too cold. And there's not much you can do to force a plant to grow in cold soil. What you can do is work with it. You can give it more time. You can warm the soil slightly with mulch. Use darker surfaces to absorb heat, like some black plastic. You can cover the area temporarily with fleece if needed, or floating row covers. But the biggest thing is just understanding what's happening, because once you understand that, you stop overreacting, and that alone will prevent a lot of further issues later. The third mistake is doing too much at once. And this is one that doesn't feel like a mistake when you're doing it. It feels like momentum and you're checking off all the list, but you've been waiting all winter. You've been planning and you're excited, of course. And now everything's ready. It's April and I can go for it. You plant everything. You fill every space. And you try to get ahead of the season. And for a little bit, it feels great. But then reality hits. And now you've got a lot of plants to water, a lot of plants to monitor, a lot of potential problems all happening at the same time. And it becomes harder to stay on top of everything. So what starts happening is, small issues here and there get missed and plants start to struggle and you may not catch on right away. And you feel like you're a bad gardener, but really you just did too much. The better way to approach April is to pace yourself. You don't need to plant everything all in the same weekend. In fact, it's better if you don't. Stagger your planting. Give yourself time to observe and adjust and stay on top of things, because a smaller number of healthy, well-managed plants will always outperform a large number of stressed out, neglected ones. The fourth mistake is transplant shock, and this is a big one in April. This is something that it happens all the time, and a lot of people don't realize it's happening. You take a plant that's been growing in a controlled environment, indoors in your house or a greenhouse where the temperatures are stable, there's no wind, light is consistent. And then you move it outside, and now it's dealing with full sun, which is hotter and stronger than any grow light, wind, temperature swings between day and night, and the plant reacts by slowing down. It stops growing, it pauses. And sometimes the leaves look a little stressed, sometimes they look fine, but there's just no progress. That's transplant shock. And even though the plant might survive, it loses time. And in a short growing season, for sure, time matters. Now the fix here is hardening off, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Even just gradually introducing your plants to outdoor conditions over several days makes a huge difference. So for hardening off, you do a little bit of sun at first day, then a little more every day for about 7 days until they can be out all day and all night. Now, it does take about 7 days to do it this old-fashioned way, but maybe some of you have jobs and families and other responsibilities besides your plants. If that's the case, I have a little hack that works just as well. Look on your upcoming forecast. Find 3 consecutive days of overcast weather. Take them out in the morning of each of the 3 days and bring them in at night. As long as nighttime temperatures are in the 50s or above, that third night, you can leave them out and then leave them out from then on and get them planted in the garden. It's much easier and less time consuming. Hardening off is basically just helping the plants adjust instead of shocking them all at once, because once a plant shocks like that, it takes time to recover. The fifth mistake is feeding at the wrong time. And this one goes both ways. Some people start fertilizing too early, the plant isn't fully established yet, the roots aren't developed, and you're already trying to push growth. Other people don't feed at all, and they assume the soil has everything the plant needs. And over time, the plant starts to run out of nutrients. And both situations lead to similar results. You can get slow growth, pale leaves, plants that don't look strong, they're not thriving, and they start producing way later. Let the plant get established first. Let the roots start doing their job, and then begin feeding once you have a little plant there. And keep it consistent. That steady supply of nutrients is what supports strong, continuous growth. When you fertilize with an organic fertilizer like Neptune's Harvest, which I use, and we have a link to those products in our shop, you are giving a balanced, natural form of feed that the plant can recognize. It's going to take it in as it needs it. It's not going to be something like a synthetic that it can suck up a bunch at once, grow real fast, and you think, hey, this looks great, but then all of a sudden it can't keep up with that growth. So that growth gets weak, it gets floppy, it starts to attract pests, and you're left with an issue. So in my opinion, not only is it better for you and the environment, it's better for the plant's growth to use organic fertilizer. In April, you know, weeds are just starting. They're small, they don't really look like a big deal, and it's really easy to ignore them. But this is actually the easiest time to deal with them because once they get established, now they're competing with your plants for water, for nutrients, for space, and they've got their own growing root system, which makes them harder to get out than they were when they were just little seedlings. And they grow fast. A weed that can just take a second right now to pull out can take a lot longer with a lot more effort in just a couple of weeks. And the other problem is once your garden fills in, it becomes harder to even get in there and remove them. So just stay ahead of it. You don't need to take hours. You know, weeding in April is quick if you just stay consistent with it. A few minutes here and there while they're small saves you a lot of work later. A lot of people get excited in April and just start planting. They assume the soil is ready and everything is good to go. But the reality is the setup may not be finished yet. The soil might be compacted, uneven, lacking structure, not holding water properly. And if you go ahead and plant into that anyway, they're going to struggle. Slow down and prepare the space first. Before you plant, loosen the soil if it's compact, level things out, make sure water moves properly, and amend with a nice 2 to 3 inches of compost on top of the soil. Because planting into a bad setup just locks in problems from day one. If there's one thing to understand about April, it's this. This is where your garden either builds momentum or falls behind. And the frustrating part is when things fall behind now, you don't always realize it right away. You realize it later when your plants should be thriving, but they're just okay. Or worse, they're struggling and you're trying to figure out what went wrong. Most of the time it goes back to right now in April, these early decisions, these small adjustments. So if you fix these things now, you're setting yourself up for a completely different outcome later. This is exactly what I'm working through right now. Resetting things, getting the setup right, making sure everything is dialed in before planting really ramps up. You can follow all that in a more detailed way over on our second channel, The Gardens at Skyridge. If you missed our video on what to plant in April and why you should probably be direct sowing right now instead of starting indoors, go ahead and click this video on the screen and I'll see you guys next time.